Governor's Office of 몽골 Province, Ayutthaya Company, Foundation of Intellectual Development of Gobi, UBS Television present. Like a fairy tale, a copper-pink morning welcomes 몽골 land. Autumn in this region is similar to the summer in the Hangai region. My grandmother was right when she said that the sun refuses to leave the desert all autumn. But this does not mean that it's always hot here. Having shivered to the bone from cold during the mission in the previous autumn, I was dressed too warm this time and was again punished by the Gobi sun, which seemed to be laughing at me. This time, the purpose of my trip was to see, perhaps nowhere to be seen in the world than Gobi, unique traces and bones of dinosaurs imprinted in the fertile soil of South Gobi. The road, similar to the old washing board of my grandmother, soon brought us to the 샤르차브 in the Mandlasum of 몽골 Province. Welcome to an adventure to the Jurassic period through the bottom of ancient sea and 샤르차브 Valley. In ancient times, our Earth had different hosts, dinosaurs. Science has long proven that these mysterious creatures lived millions of years ago on land, in the sea, and in airspace. The fossilized bones, eggs, and traces of dinosaurs are evidence of this. For the first time, the term dinosaur, meaning terrible lizard, was introduced in 1842 by the English scientist Richard Owen. Then a number of scientists put forward the hypothesis that the homeland of ancient man and mammals is Central Asia, on the basis of which the professor of the American Museum of Natural History, Roy Chapman Andrews, led an expedition to the Mongolian Gobi, where he discovered the famous red sandstone cliffs, the present Bayınzak.
Roy Chapman Andrews, too, spent more than a few days wandering the Gobi. But in the end, he blundered into a discovery that stunned the world.
In other words, when Central Asia became a land and the center of the evolution of reptiles, Western Europe and the western part of North America were still underwater. These important changes on our planet occurred at the end of Jurassic period, in the Middle Life era, when the marine reptiles began to come out on the land that had risen above the water level in North America and Western Europe. New species of land reptiles appeared in Central Asia. Proceeding from the discoveries made earlier, it can be concluded with certainty that Central Asia was the center of evolution of not only mammals, but also giant reptiles. The discovery of the world's first fossilized dinosaur eggs in Bayınzak made the Mongolian Gobi a world-famous textbook of fossil findings of wildlife. But the place where we are heading now is called 샤르차브 and was first discovered by the joint Mongolian-Japanese paleontological expedition on July 31st, 1995. I was born as the owner of untouched steppe, which has preserved traces of huge dinosaurs since times immemorial. The poet wrote in his famous poem. I asked a friend when these lines were written. It turned to be in 1959. Since it was written back in 1959, it means that the traces of dinosaurs were found before then. I began to question my teacher, and he advised me to read the works of Namnundorj. There is a sentence about where the traces of dinosaurs were found. Practically, it was very close to us. Until the mid-1990s, only one location of traces of dinosaurs was recorded in Mongolia, and it was not sufficiently studied. In July 31st, 1995, in the course of the joint Mongolian-Japanese expedition in the Baishin-Tsav area, the 샤르차브 Valley was discovered. They were traveling from Baishin-Tsav to southeast Gobi. Some members of the expedition had time to return to the city and traveled back from afar on a gas 66 truck when they had a problem with the engine's cooling system. During the repair, Japanese researcher Matsumoto began to explore the area. It wasn't their first time passing through this area. Matsumoto worked in Morocco the previous year. In general, Japanese paleontologists have a habit not to sit back and instead explore the unknown. It's as if they are constantly torn by curiosity. That's how they discovered the dinosaur tracks. 8 traces were found from east to west. Our guide Mayambair says that this place is more than a location of dinosaur trace discovery. In the world there are many places with traces of ancient reptiles, but very few places where not only traces but also fossilized dinosaur bones were found. On this land where we stand now, 70 million years ago, there was a large sauropod that could not longer go far and died. It is known that the length of the sauropod was from 21 to 25 meters and the height about 6 meters. Prior to this, several fossilized skeletons of the comparatively small dinosaur Avimiminus were found here in 샤르차브. Throughout the world, where fossilized dinosaur traces are found, they usually do not find their bones. The uniqueness of the region of 샤르차브 in Mongolia lies in the fact that not only traces, but also bones of dinosaurs living at about the same time were found here. These findings is of great importance for the science of dinosaurs, as there are a lot of materials that can be used for new scientific works. Paleontologists have a rule to return again and again to the site of their findings. After all, after the rains, winds and storms, new evidence comes to light previously left undetected. Naturally, there is a growing interest in this area, which means that new opportunities will develop for tourism development. This place is the most suitable support zone for the development of tourism in the eastern region of our country. The great scientist, writer Tsendin Demdeseren did not accidentally once notice that the inhospitable desert of Gobi is rich in natural resources, while the limping old man is rich in wisdom and experience. The real traces of dinosaurs, familiar to us from fairy tales and films, were clearly imprinted on this land of the 샤르차브 Valley. Another unique wealth of the world, inherited from immemorial times, contains about 18,000 traces of 4-5 species of dinosaurs. There are the traces of Avimimus, the bird mimic. By their traces, it can be assumed that a herd of 80 passed here. You can also assume that they passed another 20 meters from here and turned left. Although they lived in a herd, it is clear that many became prey to large individuals. There are many single dinosaur traces left in the world in a small area. The uniqueness of 샤르차브 is that here you can see the traces of 4-5 species of dinosaurs that roamed in one place. Of course, it is necessary that world science, in general the world, accepts our discovery. With that purpose, we have started our research since 1995. That is specific research, meaning not just legends or assumptions. As in every animal, there is a hardened part in the dinosaur heel. The trace from this part is clearly visible here, but the front part, fingers and claws, are unfortunately not visible, which is why it's impossible to tell where the animal was heading. Here we see traces of the back, right and left legs only. To me, living in the present, when traces are lost within 7 days, it is difficult to imagine how traces of dinosaurs that lived 70 million years ago can reach our days. As paleontologists have explained to me, the current 샤르차브 Valley 90 million years ago was a deep river flowing in the tropical zone where the history of wildlife was created. Indeed, here and today you can see, as if in frozen time, a bank with distinct prints left by waves that had once washed the soft Gobi land. Maybe that's why so many traces of dinosaurs were found here. According to the results of the investigations of the area, it can be concluded that the riverbed ran here. Everything was underwater. This is confirmed by the traces of waves imprinted in the sands, as well as the swampy character of the terrain. Recently, the field of science of studying the state of the terrain in the period when dinosaurs lived there has been successfully developing. We conducted the exact same research. As a result, it was found that this part of the Gobi Desert in ancient times was a river basin with a lot of branches. There is a need to urgently take this unique area under protection, which is a real treasure island of interesting and rare information. Here not only has a traffic of cars, horses and livestock increased drastically, but there have been cases of thefts of fossilized dinosaur traces. The program on the management of the cultural heritage of Oyu Company united scientists and researchers to solve the most urgent problems. A fence of 1,280 meters has already been built to protect the main area of 샤르차브. With the support of Gobi Intellectual Development Foundation, in 2016, the first stage of the project on the protection of cultural heritage and development of tourism was implemented. Near the stairs which we passed, we found traces of a car which made a turn there. Directly along this place also passed a heavy truck. At first it was decided to build a fence of 1,280 meters. Then there was a need to protect not only the fossilized traces, but also constructions built for it. For this purpose we hired guards, and to create the conditions for their permanent residence, infrastructure was needed, including water source. So we dug a well. So we contacted Oyu Company. They have a special program for the protection of cultural heritage until 2065. The main objective of this program is to preserve the tangible and intangible heritage in the zones of direct and indirect influence. So we found out about this program. We immediately contacted Oyu. the 샤르차브 Valley is included in the area of their influence.
Тэр ажлын өрөөнд бол бид нар санал тавьсан. За бид манай энэ 샤르차브 бол одоо юу гэдэг нөлөөллийн мөсөнд багтаж байгаа.
It is important that the companies show financial support and the authorities should focus on legislative support. And of course, tourism companies need to take an active part. Most importantly, it was proposed to implement a major project on management with the participation of representatives of science. In fact, the discovery of a unique and rich place of dinosaur traces is the most significant event since the 1920s. It's time for tourist companies to start promoting this Gobi region abroad.
Эхний ээлжийн менежмент төлөвлөгөөний дагуур юм томоохон бүтээн байгуулалтыг хийчихэж байна. Дараа нь бид нар энэ дээр бол одоо бид нар чөлөөтэй аяж усны байгууллагууд гадаад ертөнцийн сурчлах цаг нь болцсон.
That's how a small house was built in 샤르차브 Valley, designed to protect the traces of dinosaurs. They say that there will be a geopark known throughout the world that will take us like a time machine to the Jurassic period. Be that as it may, based on paleontological research and not on legends and fairy tales. The second stage of the project is the creation of an information center and a natural museum on this fenced territory. In the future, we plan to turn the 샤르차브 into the valley of the dinosaurs. Today, more and more people prefer not entertaining but cognitive tourism. In this sense, there is a huge potential in 샤르차브. On the other hand, everything related to dinosaurs is a special kind of tourism. This kind of tourism is more expensive and does not require the presence of developed infrastructure. If mass tourism follows developed infrastructure, then interest in dinosaurs, on the contrary, overcomes risks and difficulties. This is how the traces of dinosaurs were imprinted on the Gobi earth, of which I could only get an understanding from films before. It was extremely interesting to travel through the ancient land of Gobi, which is, as it turned out, contains untold riches. The huge layers of this land perhaps can be compared to the thick book about history of our world.